Maguire and De Gea. I wouldn't even let him on the bus after the match. I get a taxi back to Manchester.
This fella Ronaldo is a cod.
Oh, yes! Well, I'll take you.
I'm 2 minutes in the ground and ask me to step back in.
Yeah.
Don't annoy me. Tell your mother on you.
Yeah, little Dixie!
Hello and welcome to Following the Floodlights. I'm Conor Hosford.
And I'm Daniel Pitcher.
Coming up, we have a special interview with former Republic of Ireland, St. Pat's, Shamrock Rovers and Birmingham City player Keith Fahy. Keith tells us about how he ended up playing youth football at his boyhood club Arsenal and a career that led him to playing for Ireland.
Yeah, and Keith talks about the lows of playing football in an incredibly honest conversation about his mental health and how he's found new ways to keep himself busy and that he doesn't really follow what's going on much these days. It's a conversation that you don't want to miss, so stay tuned.
We'll also talk international football and a big game for Ireland women's team and a look back to yet another disappointing window for Stephen Kenny.
That's all to come on episode 8 of Following the Floodlights. We're flying through these, so stay with us. If you'd like to connect with us, you can tweet at FTFPodIRE or email ftfpod@gmail.com. And we would love to hear from you. And don't forget, you can also subscribe to us on Spotify, Acast and YouTube. And we're coming to you once again from the fantastic podcast studios in Dublin's city centre. And thanks very much indeed to those guys for having us back again. Conor, nothing damaged in our first week. Hopefully it stays that way and we can come back here for future episodes.
Well, another international window for the senior men's team has come and gone. We still wait for a goal and the first win under Stephen Kenny. A 3-0 drubbing at the hands of England was followed up with a loss to Wales and a scoreless draw against Bulgaria in Dublin. A horrible week.
Yeah, it was. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that drubbing against England really set the stall for what was going to be a pretty disappointing window. Once again, you know, we come out and we start playing football probably for about 20 minutes. I don't think the effort could be faulted too much. You're starting to see Stephen Kenny's style of play and the way in which we're trying to pass up instead of hoof the ball up, which has been the way for so many years. But I don't know what it is. I mean, they get the chances, but they're not putting them away. I'd like once the first goal went in for the English, there was going to be no way back. It was either going to be a horrific night where they probably would have scored 5 or 10. Thankfully, it was only 3. So you've got, you know, I don't know if pride can be restored in a 3-0 loss to England, but at least it wasn't more. Yeah,
it could have well been more. But England's goal scorers didn't have their fiery goal scoring boots on that day. Thankfully from an Irish point of view, but it's that's the first time England have beaten us in 35 years. Yeah,
and I think an awful lot of Irish people would have thought back to we mentioned the Lansdowne Road riots in 1995 on the last episode, and an awful lot of people still credit David Kelly's goal that he scored against England at Lansdowne Road as a win. I know in Wikipedia, an awful lot of stat websites, it goes down as a scoreless draw, as match abandoned. But I think there was a petition a number of years ago for that to be registered as an Irish win, because I remember that match that night. We were hammering them. We were absolutely destroying England that night. And had that game played out its 90 minutes, we probably would have run a similar enough scoreline to what England ran over us the last time. And then, of course, obviously, we played them twice in friendlies, once in Wembley and once at the Aviva Stadium. But yeah, it was pretty disappointing, to say the very least. And you know, promotional material for a certain bookmaker certainly didn't help outside Wembley, mapping Declan Rice, their heat map in the shape of a snake. You know, those
not just Declan Rice, Jack Grealish
as well. And you know, those things, you know, can only rile up or motivate. Like those players are seeing that coming into the stadium. They're thinking, right.
I don't think they did. I think it was taken down. I think the FA had it ordered to be removed before anyone before the game even started. They wouldn't have came in that way anyway. Plus, it can be taken two ways. If we won the game, it would be taken very differently. But after the result that came out of the game, could you describe it as embarrassing? Look, it was a good marketing ploy by said bookmaker, but we know what they've been like for other previous games and stuff like that. But unfortunately, they can't control what goes on the pitch.
I'm kind of wondering, are we getting to a point in Stephen Kenny's reign, as early as it is, where you can because there was one additional case of COVID reported within the squad. I think was a 1 or 2.
James McLean, Matt Doherty, and there was Alan Brown as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
So more COVID disruption, more injury disruption.
Yeah.
But how much longer are we going to use that as an excuse to cover up the Stephen Kenny thing? And when will this actually become a problem? Because we've spoken about it on the podcast before, that we want this to work for Stephen Kenny.
Yeah. Look, regardless, Stephen Kenny or any manager that comes into the yard and set up, regardless of who they are, you want it to work for them.
Mm-hmm. But particularly maybe for Kenny, because he's homegrown.
Yeah. He comes in with the right intentions.
Mick McCarthy was an Irishman from Barnsley.
Yeah.
Roy Keane as assistant manager. Okay. Roy Keane and Martin O'Neill was the people's choice after Trapattoni. That's who the people demanded. The FAI got in. It didn't. Okay, we got to the Euros in 2016, and we had a very, very memorable night against.
To be fair to them, it worked. Their reign worked, and then
to an extent.
Yeah, but then it turned quickly sour, which was unfortunate.
It turned sour because of bust ups within the squad.
Yeah,
Harry Arter and
the WhatsApp message that went
the
through.
The WhatsApp messages
from Stephen Ward
and all of that kind of stuff, and yes, things did end on a very sour note, and we only spoke the other day about, how miserable the finish was to the Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane era, being relegated from the Nations League, that awful game against Northern Ireland at the Aviva Stadium.
There was, I don't even know how many people were in attendance that night. It was
very little.
Piss poor attendance, really.
Yeah.
I was at the game.
Yeah, and obviously the relegation from the Nations League, the drubbing at the hands of Denmark.
That's one thing you never thought you'd see, an international relegation.
We managed to avoid it though.
Yeah, thank
again.
God. I don't think we were handed a second chance with the reshuffle of the new Nations League.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't reshuffled into the new format, we would have been relegated.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we remained in League B, so we were relegated. We were relegated on paper.
Yeah.
But we actually remained in League B. But if I this time, if we got relegated this time and actually went down to League C, now before the game you're you don't want to get relegated again. You don't want to go back to back relegations in the Nations League.
Mm-hmm.
But League C could probably do us a bit of favour in terms of playoff places. You see the way the groups go there. I think I don't know what placing, but you're given a playoff place in your placings. So if we were in League C against the Bulgaria now, the Czech Republic and all, they're nations at a similar standard to us. Well, currently at a similar standard to us. Now we only hope that Stephen Kenny can bring back the life of Irish football. Now I don't think we'll ever be in League A with the likes of England, France, Spain, Germany, the big guns. We'll never. Yeah. I don't particularly want to be in League A. Do you know what I mean? Take a hammering against the English or against the Belgians again, but League C, an international promotion looks a lot better than a relegation. Personally, you know
what the Nations League, and we'll talk about Wales and we'll talk about Bulgaria because you were at the match at the Aviva. But what the poor seeding does for us is it puts us into pot 3 first of all for the World Cup qualifiers. That could potentially spring up either one of Denmark or Wales or Gibraltar again. So there's that. But there's also we haven't played a inverted commas big team. So you have the win against Germany, which was an incredibly memorable night. I'll never forget being there and the stadium feeling like it was bouncing. That was on the run up to the Euros. You had the Euros itself. Sweden, Belgium, Italy and France. Good results against Sweden, a great result against Italy. Really, really poor result against France. Really poor result against Belgium.
We done well against France to an extent.
But then once the French scored, the floodgates opened.
Yeah, it didn't help going down to 10 men either. But like in hindsight, now I know we don't want to talk in hindsight, but in hindsight, they went on to play in the final of that tournament.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you always say that you hope that the team who
beats you, knocks you out, wins the thing,
goes on to win the thing. Yeah, so it makes you feel a little bit better.
They didn't in the end. They were beaten by Portugal,
but in the time after that, when we're talking about international games, how many times we've played Denmark, how many times we played Wales, Gibraltar. I mean, those games were painful. Georgia.
To be fair, I enjoyed the first time we played Gibraltar back in 2014. Robbie Keane scored a hat-trick 7-0 win in the View Stadium. I didn't mind that.
But then the one that we played at the start of Mick McCarthy's second coming,
1-0.
1-0 in an awful game. Yeah. I mean, like, that was awful. Like, I actually think that we played worse then and a win than we did against Wales, England, or Bulgaria.
Like you could say that, yeah.
We played better football. Okay, we didn't take our chances, but we played better football. It wasn't just loop over the top.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I suppose like what happened after that game off the pitch in terms of the goings on around the FAI, that kind of took the attention away from that game. Now I don't know whether you want to put that down as a good thing or a bad thing, because
it's embarrassing.
Well, it's embarrassing, yeah, but if people went through that game with a fine-tooth comb, I don't think Mick McCarthy would have lasted as long as he did. Like, there would have been people calling for his head a lot sooner than... Well, nobody actually called for his head in the end. But people
it was just unfortunate the way COVID panned out and everything else.
But I think he would have been out of that job a lot sooner than he actually was if people actually looked into... Because after that, things just went sour with the FAI, so people were kind of focusing on that rather than the goings on the national team.
Had we not qualified... Had the qualification played out the way it was supposed to, and we were supposed to play Slovakia in the playoff earlier on in the year, what was it, before March or something like that, wasn't it? So had that played out and we lost to Slovakia and we didn't get an opportunity to potentially go up north and play Northern Ireland in a playoff final, had that not happened, Mick McCarthy's contract was going to be up at the end of the Euros anyway,
which is due to be around now. Like, I don't think was it the Euros, or was he going to play out the Nations League as well?
No, he was only going to see out the Euros, so he was only going to last to the end of summer.
Okay.
So had we not qualified, the FAI would have taken the right. Thanks, but we didn't get there. Good luck.
Yeah.
Because there's no point in paying him through a period where, what's he doing? We're not going to the Euros.
Yeah.
So like it was horrendously embarrassing, and it has been a little bit horrendously embarrassing the way results have gone as well, because it's one of the worst runs that Ireland have ever been on. It took Mick McCarthy an awful long time in its first reign to get his first win. We've had desperate runs before, but this goes up there as one of the worst. But we are playing decent football.
Yeah,
and it's just baffling that we're on this run.
I'll back him up in saying he's had a bad run at it.
Yes.
Like to be thrown in midway through a campaign, to be thrown in a global pandemic, but, players missing with COVID injury, and then only having probably a one or two training sessions before a match.
Yeah. Now, that hasn't helped. But we mentioned the COVID and we mentioned the injuries, and we give him the benefit of the doubt. But what Stephen Kenny does with his Ireland squad at his disposal, disrupted and everything else as it was, you're looking at some of his selections. Jack Byrne didn't travel to England. Did he play? Did he travel to Wales? He was on the bench.
He was
unused against Wales.
No, he was used against Wales. He came on the last.
Oh, sorry. Yes, he came on in the last 10 minutes,
and it was probably the best thing that came.
And it was, but far too late to go chasing a game. It's
the same in Bulgaria. Wales.
He got about 15 minutes.
He got 10 minutes against Wales.
Yeah, and then at the Aviva he got about 15
to 20 minutes. okay, Bulgaria, it's a 0-0 draw. It was there for the taking.
Yeah.
Again, 15, 20 minutes to change the game.
But when you think,
it's not enough time.
like in the lead up, Stephen Kenny spoke about the likes of Troy Parrott, for example.
He came on
and
as well, yeah.
that he came on against Bulgaria, but beforehand he had spoken about how Jim Crawford had said that Troy wasn't fit.
No, because I was at the 21s game before. He didn't
So
look fit.
why in the name of God is he using Troy Parrott as a substitution in a game where he's got to go and chase a goal, got to go and get that win to get a better seeding for Ireland? Plays Jack Byrne for 15 minutes. That game was screaming out for Jack Byrne after the 10th minute, let alone the whatever it was, the 70th minute.
He should have started that game.
Yeah.
Like, from what he showed at the Wales game, that he brought life to the game. Now, at that point, it was too late. Like, he brought life to the Wales game. That 10 minutes he got against Wales warranted a start for him, regardless of who was missing or not. The fact that he had players missing, okay, yeah, even more gives him a reason to start him. But he brings that excitement to the table. He is he's got creativity. Something that Ireland haven't had since Wes Hoolahan, really. But he wasn't, like, we all know the saga about Wes Hoolahan.
Yeah.
He could never be used right.
And this is a classic example
Yeah.
of that. Stephen Kenny's not. Stephen Kenny is a homegrown League of Ireland manager. He knows the league like the back of his hand.
Yeah,
he knows the players like the back of his hand.
He's been at the games. He's coming to League of Ireland games watching, Jack play. Like, he's seen it firsthand. I know Aaron McAneff and Graham Burke were called up as well from Shamrock Rovers. But, like, Jack, he's been called up.
Like, he got more time under Mick McCarthy,
against Bulgaria.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's set up 2 goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if that doesn't, like, warrant, okay, we need this player in the team from the get-go, to be honest with you, I don't know what does. Like, I feel sorry for Jack. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what the situation is inside in Ireland camp, but I feel horrible for him. Like, he's doing everything right. Give the boy a chance. Give the lad a chance.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, it was screaming out for him, and you wonder what. And we keep asking this question: what has Jack Byrne got to do to get into that team and be treated with the respect that the man deserves?
As a Shamrock Rovers fan, I don't want to answer that question because we all
know that the answer is to move.
Yeah, but I don't. As a Shamrock Rovers fan, I'm not going to answer that question because I don't want him to go anywhere.
Yeah.
He's just like, plus, like, even off the pitch, he's just a genuine bloke. Like, he's just a down to earth, genuine fella. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he probably goes into camp and, like, he probably takes it. Like, to be fair to him, he probably takes it on the chin and go, yeah, no bother. I'm glad to be here. But look, he deserves so much more. Like, he's a fantastic fella on and off the pitch.
Well, look, the weight and the everything else for a goal and a win goes on and on. I don't even... The next international window isn't until March.
March, yeah. 5 months without it.
5 months without it. So there's plenty for Stephen Kenny to ponder on. You would hope that he would look back maybe at some of his selections and think that he's got it wrong, and that he'll throw it. Because Stephen Kenny's an honest man. He's been honest before when something hasn't worked or when he's got something wrong. He's thrown his hands up and admitted that. So hopefully now over the space of the next couple of months, now that this fiasco as well that happened,
Who's
the leak?
Yeah.
I mean, that was embarrassing. That was extreme, because not only did that get played out in the press here, but that was played out obviously in like what happens in the dressing room stays in the dressing room.
Yeah, regardless.
And that leaked out into media. I'm led to believe that it was leaked to a newspaper in England that has an Irish publication here. I'm not going to name the newspaper. And that these reports of the Irish being anti-English in their approach to their game against England that they lost 3-0 in, that is an extreme embarrassment. So
but
whoever...
Yeah, it's not only an extreme embarrassment, that's a massive statement to make.
Yeah.
Like, it's a friendly game. I know there's nothing friendly between an Ireland and England match. We've seen that over the years. But especially in a squad where I know they're all Irish players, but majority of Irish players are born in England. as in the current. Like I know we had a game there previously that you had. I think it was only three or four. Like our full at one point our full starting 11 was all born Ireland, which is huge.
Yeah.
In today's world, but look, it's extremely embarrassing. It shouldn't have happened. Like
No.
And then poor Alan Kelly.
Yeah, no, he was unnecessarily dragged through the mud.
He
on
was
that.
hung out to dry because of it, but it's nothing
It's
to do with
nothing
him.
to do with him.
He left
And
because he's asthmatic.
And you saw the statement that
Yeah,
he's put
like
out
the
that
poor
he's never pandered to the media before
Yeah.
in his whatever it is. What is it? Nearly 30
30
years
years,
involved with Ireland.
Between playing and coaching, you know, like he is a huge servant to Irish football,
Yeah,
and
no,
he
that
didn't
was-
deserve that.
No, he didn't deserve that at all. You know what you would have to say, and you know we have to say this with extreme caution because we don't know the full details. What we do kind of know is the part of the details and what was shown to the Irish squad was something to do with 1916. We don't know what. We know that there was something to do with the Euros in '88, which was probably Ray Houghton's goal.
Yeah.
And the Lansdowne riots in 1995. In a what was it, a 2-minute video shown to the players before the match.
2 minutes. What I read somewhere, it was a breakdown. So it was a 2-minute video, a minute and a half of goals, Ireland goals and previous performances against England, which we hadn't lost in 35 years before that game.
Yeah.
And then 30 seconds of Irish people's resilience against the British forces,
rule and
or
all
British
that,
rule or
yeah.
whatever. Resilience in a sporting world. Resilience is everything, regardless of like. Okay, yes, 1916 rising independence. There's politics involved there, but like you could show someone like World War I, World War II. Like you could show them like you could show some a horrible event like the Holocaust, resilience that the Jewish people showed against the Nazis. Yes, again, it's politics, but you could it's just the point that Stephen was trying to get across there was resilience.
Yeah.
Nobody know, you don't know if you've crossed that line until you actually do.
Well, apparently, what happened in the dressing room, and from speaking to a number of journalists that have covered Irish football for a long time, that what happened and what was played, what happened, not necessarily what was played, what happened came close to the line. It wasn't exactly over it. You know, some people called it pro-Irish and tame. In you know, following you know what we discovered about this, and that it was from a non-playing member of staff. Now we don't want to. I'm not going to get into the business of speculating here.
Who is it?
Who that could have been?
It doesn't really matter at this point. You know what I mean?
Reporters and those who cover Irish football kind of have an idea in their head of who would be around a dressing room on a match day, and they will lead their own conclusions. You know, we're certainly not going to get involved in that at all. As far as the FAI say that they're concerned that you know the matter is now closed as of a statement. Yeah. You kind of wonder in what way might it have been dealt with internally. You know, we won't find out about that.
Yeah. Look, I don't care.
We'll
how
probably do a head count on who turns up to Abbottstown for the next time.
Look, I don't particularly care how it was dealt with internally. The one thing that I cared about in this incident is that it wasn't blown. I didn't want it blown out of proportion. I didn't want Stephen Kenny to be unlawfully sacked.
Oh, yeah.
For something that could have been we don't know what was shown. Like from what we hear, reports it could have been tame. It could have been maybe crossing the line would have been getting the troubles involved. Yeah, that might have been crossing the line.
Like it was very unclear whether and what any consequence Stephen Kenny might wreak as a result of it.
There might have been someone in the squad that did take offence. If that was the case, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Go to the FAI, say, okay, look, or even
senior squad members came out and backed.
Yeah,
Kenny,
but if there's,
which I was delighted to see, by the way.
But if there was someone that found offence, look, talk to Stephen yourself. Talk.
Don't go leaking it to a newspaper.
Yeah, keep it inside the squads. Deal with it face to face.
That's a massive breach in trust. Let alone a breach of anything else. That's a breach in trust.
But we talked about Stephen Kenny being a genuine bloke.
He is.
If a player or a non-playing member of staff, he's picked his own backroom staff. Mm-hmm. He trusts them. If any of them took offence to it, I'm sure they'd have no issue going up to it. And Stephen probably go, look, I'm I'm sorry. He'd apologise. He'd say, look, I didn't mean it that way. He'd probably explain himself, and that would be the matter resolved. Do you mean lessons I learned? You wouldn't do it again. But you don't leak it to a paper.
No. But I suppose what the main point of it all is that as a manager, your job is to rile up the players.
Oh yeah.
What's probably more worrying out of that is that Stephen Kenny tried to rile up the squad and it just didn't work. It seemed to just whatever was said. I know he showed the video and then he made a speech. Apparently it was whatever was in his speech was what actually came close to the line.
So it wasn't the video.
Well, the video showed events around, around
we know
1916.
We've seen, we've known the videos. But we have an idea.
It was supposedly what was in his speech. Now, nobody will know because, again, what happens?
Look,
and
I don't think
I don't want to know.
I don't want to know either. Like, to be honest with you,
like I'm an Irishman. I'm very proud of my roots.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I don't Look, I don't care what's like. Stephen Kenny could sing I'm a little teapot in the dressing room, and I wouldn't give a rat's unless if it meant we went out and won the game. Like I don't care what happens in the dressing room as long as we win the game.
Yeah, and the English media reaction was baffling, calling for Stephen Kenny's head, and this is disgraceful and all of this. You just hope that there's nobody in England that's going to translate our Ron of Wien very shortly, or all you'd have to do is Google it because. It would probably cause more offence to anybody reading the English translation of Aaron of Wien than anything Stephen Kenny said to his squad to rile it up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for God's sake, have we actually become too soft?
I wouldn't say we became too soft, like as a nation. There's nothing about us. Because like you seen when this came out, the fans were like, nonsense.
Yeah, the fans were like, and what?
Like, okay, the grass is green, the sky is blue. Like, I don't think Ireland as a nation has become soft. I think the world in general has become soft. Like, we have to be very careful what we say on this because we have a platform.
Yeah.
Because it's a very PC world, a very politically correct world. You know what I mean? I think the world is just changing. Some for the better, some for the worse. Like you see with the whole remarks about respect and gender equality and all that stuff. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, we've come a long way.
We've come a long way in terms of that. But in terms of stupid stuff like if I say that chair is white, you say that chair is black. Like, disagreeing against that. Do you know what I mean? Like stuff like that it's just like
it's pink, Conor. It's quite clearly pink.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Like stuff like this. Like we get into a stupid argument.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like that cloud is round. You say it's square. Like.
Yeah,
it's the world we're living in.
Yeah,
Anyway, we've gone completely
we've gone
completely off topic.
Well, look,
and I hope this doesn't get us in trouble.
No.
But like, anyway, so
it was embarrassing. Let's just hope now that that's completely the line drawn in the sand.
Let's park the bus there, and we'll leave it at that. Thank God the FEI has kind of left it at that.
Yeah,
we'll see now. Like they've got 5 months. The squad have 5 months to get over it. If there was any rift in the squad. They have 5 months to get over before their next.
Yeah.
When they get into their next campaign, it's World Cup qualifiers. So, like it heads need to be down. You need to be focusing on the task in hand. So let's park the bus there. It goes for like I'd say everyone would agree with me saying we'll park the bus there. Leave it at that. Let's move on.
Yeah. Because because as we said, to kick all of this chat off in the first place, we want this to work for Stephen Kenny.
Yeah, we do.
Maybe that's what we'll title this episode. We want this to work for Stephen Kenny.
Make Ireland great again.
But let's. It was ridiculous, but
look. Anyway, draw lines and park the bus. Let's move on. Well, let's hope the upcoming window for the Ireland women can give us a much needed boost. Vera Pauw's side clash with Germany in a match they simply must win, and hope for other results can go their way in order to qualify for the first ever European Championships. A boost for the Irish boss sees Megan Campbell back in contention to play. However, COVID-19 has crept into the camp. London City Lionesses pair Ali Murphy and Hayley Nolan will miss out as they've been deemed close contacts after 2 club mates and a member of staff contracted the virus, which resulted in Wednesday's Continental Tires League Cup fixture, with Chelsea being postponed. Yeah,
it's a crunch tie for Vera Pauw, who came into a job, in a really strong position, I would have thought. With a really good backroom team around her. got some really good results. Some of them they had to really carve out. Like we were watching some of them, and like they got them by the skin of their teeth.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's what you got to do to win a match.
Yeah, you have to grind out results. Like if only the men's could do that. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
only the men's could really grind out results, like we used to. Like we used for a long time, we used to just grind out results, and we got there. That's probably how we got to the Euros. But you know, but the women, like, can I just put on record before we go into this chat? I love Vera Pauw.
Oh no, like
she is fantastic.
No, I'm certainly
Like,
not going to
on the pitch and off the pitch. Like she is great.
I'm certainly not going to go speculating over, you know, Vera Pauw's future. I think she has been absolutely brilliant. The players speak the world of her.
Yeah, she's a fantastic manager.
You know,
She's great crack as well. Like
she just you see her on the television, or you know, you see her in a clip on a press conference, and it's that smile.
Yeah.
She puts you in a good mood instantly.
Yeah.
But because
Dutch courage
we want this to work for Vera Pauw
as well. Yeah.
as well. So
we wanted to work for Stephen Kenny, Vera Pauw. We wanted it to work for Jim Crawford. We wanted it to work. We just want everything. Like I would love to see one day, maybe probably 4 years down the line, or whatever, it's a World Cup or whatever. I know the women's World Cups are different years to the men's and stuff. Like I would love to see women's, men's 21s, women's 21s, whatever, every
15s, 16s.
You know what? Like why can't the Irish just take over football?
Yeah.
Like why can't we just go in and say, right, we're here now? Like that'd be some summer of piss ups.
It would.
Yeah.
But I look, I suppose what Vera had done, and as we said, would, like, you know, carve out some really good results, put Ireland in a very good position to qualify. At the turn of the year, Ireland were there.
Yeah,
they were absolutely there. However, a bitterly disappointing 1-0 loss to the Ukraine last month must mean that Ireland have to overcome the Germans, who boast a 100% record. They've scored 37 goals in 6 matches.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, 37 goals in 6 games.
Give me a second.
So type that into your calculator.
I've got the calculator here now. Say that again. So 36 goals.
No, 37 goals in 6 matches.
I apologise. 37 goals in 6 games. That's an average of 6.1 goals a game.
A game, yeah.
And what's their conceding?
And hang on, and here's the kicker. They have yet to concede.
Mother of God.
They have yet to concede. In the qualifying campaign. So we have to upset the odds there, and then hope that the Ukrainians slip up against bottom place Montenegro.
Look, I'm telling you now, you heard it here first. Ireland are going to score 7.3 goals in that game.
How do you score 7.3 goals?
Well, if the Germans can do it, we can.
I mean, it is an incredibly difficult task they've got at Tallaght Stadium. You know, you speak about players getting boosted by there being crowds there. Sadly, there's not going to be, and that might have proved a bit of a difference, because the Irish team were getting very well marketed in prior to COVID. You were getting 5,000 people showing up to Tallaght Stadium to watch the games. That's a record.
Yeah, nearly selling out Tallaght, because I know there's one stand.
It's about 7,000.
You can't have one stand anyway because of TV and all that stuff. So like, it's not bad.
So
you know?
so that's what they were getting. Unfortunately, they're not going to get that for the Germans. I'm sure they would have loved to have had a boost. I mean, you know, just to put out there some other players, like the centre half Louise Quinn didn't travel to Dublin after a staff member at Fiorentina produced a positive COVID-19 test as well. We're learning. So Megan Connolly is unavailable due to concussion protocols. You mentioned Megan Campbell is available, and we've seen pictures on social media of Megan training and all of that.
She's got such cracking pair of shin pads as well.
Yeah, really good shin pads. You want to go onto your Twitter and search that.
Yeah.
So
for those who haven't seen them, it's a picture of her and her granddad. You might know her granddad, Eamon, is the late Eamon Campbell, is a former member of the Dubliners. But anyway, if you can go out and find that photo, do. It's a fantastic photo.
So here's our one saving grace. is that Germany have already qualified, obviously, with such a record. So that they're already through. I think they play Greece on Friday, this coming Friday, before playing Ireland 4 days later. You kind of hope that because they're already there, because of, things around COVID-19, that they don't want to risk anything that, injuries or, whatever else they might not want to risk. So you would hope that maybe a weaker or not as much up for us Germany side might travel to Dublin.
Yeah, look, regardless, we talk a lot about the controllables. That's out of Ireland's control, but I've no doubt that the Irish girls will go out there looking for performance. They will go out there with wearing their hearts on their sleeves. There's no doubt they go into every game doing that. I believe in these Irish girls to do something against them. Now I don't know what it will be. Because obviously Germany, as we've heard, are a fantastic side. Yeah. But I've no doubt they'll do something against them.
Well, their head coach Martina Voss-Tecklenburg stated this week that none of her players will play the full 90 minutes in both games, as it wouldn't be fair on their clubs when fixtures are piling up. Well, we do wish Vera Pauw and the Irish women the very best of luck. I mean, it is a mountain to climb. Hopefully they'll get there, because we would love to see an Irish team in European Championships. It would be amazing. You are listening to the Following the Floodlights podcast, coming from the podcast studios here in Dublin City Centre. If you want to get in contact with the show, you can tweet us at ftfpodire or email ftfpod@gmail.com. Now on to the main feature of the show, is with the former Irish international, who featured very heavily during the Giovanni Trapattoni era. He played in the SSE Airtricity League for St. Pat's twice and Shamrock Rovers, and Birmingham City as well in between those two spells at St. Pat's. Keith Fahy also during his career went through struggles with mental health, which he speaks about very openly, very honestly, during this interview. And I started out by asking Keith about his youth football career and how he started off by ending up at his boyhood club, Arsenal.
Yeah, firstly, I'll just put it out there. I'm always nervous in studios. I said it before we started, and I like to put it out there, take the power out of it. But retired 32 years of age. Decision was probably made by me head. I was kind of fed up. And injury obviously didn't help. It was a couple of bad games towards the end, really bad games, and it was more probably me head that said, just give it up now, enough's enough, you know? Yeah.
And you came back from England to play in the League of Ireland. I know that there was the injury was a.
I had hip surgery. I had a dodgy knee as well, but that in the end it was probably me head. Because I recovered from the hip, and then my knee kind of gave way in the end as well. So, that was, I played with injuries. I've always played with injuries, you know what I mean? But ultimately, it was probably down to just being fed up and not wanting to spend much more time in the injury room, So, yeah.
Take us back to, I suppose, a time when you were planning out a career in football, because, your youth career goes back all the way to Timon, where you played at then Cherry Orchard, Arsenal, Aston Villa in your sort of youth career. So talk to us a little bit about, I suppose, planning that journey, and at that point, maybe even of starting with Timon, was it in your head that you wanted to be a professional footballer? I don't think it was. I don't think I knew what was ahead of me. I didn't have big plans to become a professional footballer. I just loved the football. I loved playing. I loved the game. I loved the way the ball moved. I loved playing on my own against the wall. I loved playing with friends. And it turned out I was good at it. I didn't realise how good I was at it. I would have been forced in the schoolyard in the mornings to play football with a tennis ball. And yeah, it just kind of grew. And I remember Cherry Orchard wanted to sign me when I was probably about 9 years of age, and I didn't go there. But I was comfortable playing where I was, time and bond, a local side, community side, and
Then when I got to kind of 11, 12, I was probably far too good to be playing there. But like that, I didn't know. I was just enjoying it. And I moved to Cherry Orchard then. And yeah, I suppose I remember I used to see other lads going away on trials and stuff, and people being mentioned for Dublin teams and all. I was like, I wonder, like, should I be in there? Should I not be in there? And I think looking at other lads going away and stuff, kind of said, like, is that what you do? Like, I was very naive as a child. My father didn't influence me in any way. He kind of supported me, encouraged me, all that type of thing. And I had to see other players, other kids doing well to push me a little bit, you know, because like that, I was given a talent, I developed the talent, I developed my skills myself, and I had to move on to different levels, like, to get the most out of my own ability, you know.
Is that something you were glad of, that your dad didn't influence you, like you were able to kind of make your own decision?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like very, very fortunate with that. My father got me to all the games, even though he didn't drive, stuff like that. I was always there. My boots were always clean, and yeah, he didn't. He let me make my own decisions from an early age, you know.
And then do you think, like, looking nowadays, like, do you think in Ireland a lot of young talent might go to the wayside because of parents having too much of an influence?
Yeah, look, I can only share kind of what worked for me, and I had a drive in me. I was going to be a footballer, like, either way, you know, like, that was in me. It wasn't, I say it wasn't coaches, but there was a drive in me that, look, I had to become a footballer, because I don't think I'd be here today if I wasn't, and that's the bottom line for me, you know. Like, I can't comment really on other parents of kids that are probably interfering in their sport and stuff like that. Like, I think we have to remember that football at an age when I was enjoying it, like 11, 12, 13, it kind of changes then. It's a game, it's fun, it's about, like, expressing yourself and stuff like that. And I used football, didn't know at the time, as an outlet, because I didn't, like, a background in the family and all that sort of stuff. Like, I came from a broken kind of family, and I don't say that as a sob story. And going back to that, I had a drive to show that I was important, you know what I mean? And that kind of drive, like, when I look back over my career, went to Arsenal at 15, went to Villa, left Arsenal, left a bleeding Premier League club like that were winning the Premier League, winning cups. I wanted to leave. Again, my father let me make my own decisions, but I wanted to leave because I thought it'd be better somewhere else, you know. I wasn't right, I wasn't emotionally well and stuff like that. But then I went to Villa and I never went back. One summer I ended up coming back, released. But then I had a drive again. I'll show you I'm important, you know. So it was never plain sailing for me. I'm not the type of fella that sits in neutral. I usually build things up and tear them down, you know what I mean? And that's been my habit all my life. But like that, I'm very lucky to have had the career I've had, considering we'll probably talk a little bit more about, considering what I've gone through in my life as well. Like, and very lucky to be sitting here, you know.
And getting to Arsenal then, I suppose what was it that did bring you there? Because, like, I mean, I know, like, when you think of Irish players going over to Arsenal, you think of Frank Stapleton, Liam Brady, the likes of them. I know, Stephen Bradley at Shamrock Rovers tried to have some sort of career at Arsenal as well. What was it that brought you there?
Oh, he was an Arsenal fan,
okay.
And I loved Arsenal. I loved Ian Wright, like, number 8, and it's no surprise I wore number 8 at Pats, red and white, like that. There was a plan set out for me. I didn't make it. You know what I mean? I've been very lucky. I got to Arsenal, signed for Arsenal, and, like, I remember Liam Brady coming over. He had, like, there was a soccer school on. He come over once a month, and obviously he seen something in me, and I signed. Like, I didn't even hesitate, you know. And like that, I signed because I was going to Arsenal. It was me boyhood club. I supported as a boy and all that, and it was just the stuff dreams I made of, you know. I went to, like, umpteen clubs on trial, and And I never really wanted to go anywhere else, you know.
And so it was Liam Brady that scouted you, was it?
Liam Brady, yeah, he had a school set up that they come over once a month and they put on coaching sessions and all that type of thing. We went away as a DDSL, we played them over there, and I done okay, I must have done all right. And yeah, Liam Brady signed me, yeah.
And to have somebody of his stature, I suppose, at the time, and like his own career as an Arsenal player, as an Ireland international, what was that like to have somebody like that sort of following you, watching you?
It meant nothing to me because
Really?
I was a 14-year-old child. I didn't know, if maybe if I was a 35-year-old Ireland fan, I'd have said a lot more, but it didn't really like that. I didn't know. My father didn't know, and it was just, this was happening, and I went along with it, looking back, Liam. Liam was very good to me. I didn't realise how much of an icon he is here, famous left foot and stuff. So to me, I was just a child and I was being given a chance, and that was it,
And when you compare, actually, when you look at teenagers now to when you were a teenager trying to come through there. Teenagers know everything about every footballer around the world. It's probably to do with FIFA, or that they have it at the the touch of a fingertip if they want information. Was it that sort of lack of there was obviously no social media back then. There was obviously none of that. Was that well, yeah, and was that a sort of a contributing factor to not really kind of getting who Liam Brady was and the kind of the stature of man that he was? Or
I think, yeah, I would have had posters in my room of football. I loved football. I had posters everywhere. I was always thinking about football as a child, and going away like that, I would have been football mad. But Liam Brady, like that, I didn't. I knew kind of who he was, but it just I didn't know how good he was as a player and stuff like that, Yeah.
In saying that, who were your icons, your idols then growing up? Who did you look up to?
Ian Wright. I loved Ian Wright for some reason. I think as he just played football, he scored goals, he celebrated like he was a kid. You know what I mean? And I think I was kind of drawn to the fun side of it. Football again. As a child, it was all fun. It was a game. It was really enjoyable. And then, boom, it changed overnight. Whether that was something in me, I don't know, but it changed really suddenly. The fun wasn't there. It was a job which I wasn't being paid a lot for, £42.50 I remember a week at Arsenal, and you were being screamed at by certain managers, you were being shouted at, you were being scrutinised, and it was no longer a game, it was no longer play, it was high pressure stuff,
Yeah, in saying that, at that time, we hear a lot about that time, that how tough it was for young players. As you say, coaches screaming at you, scrutinising you, and then even in digs were very did you stay in digs when you were up there? Was that, talk to us about staying in digs. Was that difficult? Was it?
It was difficult. Like that, I arrived at Arsenal. I got put in a house, kind of an old style house. The first day I went in, I thought, I am not staying here. It was too quiet. Like that, it was too quiet. It was too old. I went in the next day, I said to Liam Brady, I want to leave that house. I don't like that house. I stayed in a lot of digs, and like that. I always found myself isolating when I was in the digs. There'd be families downstairs and I'd be up in my room on my own. I didn't feel a part of the family I was staying in, but I didn't really feel a part of the football clubs. I didn't feel a part of anything. I always isolated, and like that, I think where I came from and what I had behind me, I just always thought you're safer on your own, you know what I mean? It was very difficult in digs. And then I found somewhere where I stayed for a while, but it was probably stayed because we were given nearly free rein to go out and run amok. These things I don't know. And moving digs an awful lot kind of jumped onto the scale of moving clubs, So I was always never comfortable where I was. I always wanted to be somewhere else. But I suppose I never really knew what was going on internally. You'd look around, you'd say you're at Arsenal, you're playing football and everything is great, but inside I never really felt a part of,
And would you say you just you were unsettled, or you weren't given the time to settle in?
I would say I was unsettled. I was always unsettled, anyone could tell you that growing up, I was always unsettled. Wherever I went, I just felt uncomfortable, and didn't feel like I fitted in, stuff like that. So, yeah, it wasn't I think going away, people ask me, what advice would you give to kids going away, etc., etc., but all I have to share is my own experience. Am I like everyone else? No. If I say something, someone might say, yeah, well, I felt like that too. But generally, things worked out for me. It was tough. It was really tough. But deep down, I'm a pretty resilient character. I stuck at it, and thank God,
And obviously then, you went on to Aston Villa, still in your youth career and sort of more kind of into the senior days. But it was a move then to St. Patrick's Athletic. I know you'd played with Bluebell as well. But St. Pat's is obviously a big part of your life. You had a number of spells at St. Pat's. What brought you from, sort of that point of being with Arsenal and Aston Villa to going back to the League of Ireland?
What brought me there? Probably my own failures, my own messing about. I was away playing football. I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of messing around, and when I come home, I got comfortable at home because I was out drinking and messing about a good bit. So that's where I got my comfort. I was comfortable when I could go out and mess about as much as I wanted, and it brought me back. I remember one summer, the last summer I think, over in Aston Villa, I just said, I'm not going back, and I got a phone call the day of pre-season. We're back pre-season. I said, yeah, I'm not coming back. I'm making mad decisions, but eventually I was released and I came back. I played a few games for Bluebell. I ended up signing for Pats and like that. I started enjoying my football. I was home. I was still messing about an awful lot. And when I say messing about, I was doing an awful lot of drinking, nights out, days out. Not really in a good emotional state, I think not long after I come home, I had a suicide attempt. And it would have probably reinforced a lot of stuff from my childhood. Abandonment, rejection, all that. It kind of reinforces that you're not worthy. I have an inner voice, which we all have, but mine tells me I'm not worthy, I don't fit in, I'm not loved, they don't want you here. So that would have been really a real time in my life where that's where I look back and I go, I don't know how I'm still here. You know what I mean? I was playing at Pats and I was living a double life behind the scenes, and I'm lucky to be alive, being honest,
So you were enjoying your football at St. Pat's, but you just was it just that everything else kind of outside that you weren't, or what kind of what is there anything kind of? Is there anything that triggered that? Because I mean, I know, I've spoken an awful lot because I went through the ringer as well a number of years ago, and we've discussed this on podcasts how important the mental health aspect is. So, was there something that triggered that?
Was there something like I could speak, but it involves other people, Okay, sure. Family incidents and trauma and stuff like that. Abandonment, the stuff that people don't really talk about, in public, and like that. I don't. I be careful what I say because there's other people involved. But basically, divorce, separation, and as I have a 7-year-old child, and I don't say it as a sob story, but that kind of was deeply ingrained in me. You're not wanted by one of your parents, and that as a child I took on board. It nearly was driving me all my life, and that's why I have a self-destruct button underneath the surface there, which if not monitored I will press, so that's what happened with me. I suppose when I got to coming home from Villa and all, people telling me you're a fucking failure, apologies for my language, but you're a failure, you're this, you're a waster, and I believed it. I'm not wanted. Why am I here? What am I doing? Look, I'm after messing things up, and that's trigger. And there's real obvious things in my life, but I suppose never really being probably cared for. And I don't say that my dad was absolutely brilliant with us, brilliant with me, and but I suppose I probably needed more care because of what had happened and stuff like that, without going into the ins and outs. And I never got it. I never looked for it really, and I went through my teens as a bleeding like doing a lot of drinking, a lot of chaos, crashing bleeding cars, crashing mopeds, no helmet on, going back to Arsenal, tell them I fell off a BMX, you know, half my face nearly falling off. So like that, the stuff I was doing as a teenager, I was just on a path to destruction, you know, and thank God, like that's why I say I'm lucky to be sitting here. Like the football is an absolute, it's a miracle that I've done what I've done in my own opinion, you know. So yeah, you could look and you could say what triggered it, but there was a whole wreckage behind me, like, you know, and that continued. Really.
But when you say that, like, when you bring it all stems back to when you were a child. Like people, like, kids they're like sponges. So would you say that stayed with you the whole way through, and then maybe was football your escape as such?
Football, yeah, I would say as a child like that. I think looking back, I feel things, you know, and I probably felt stuff as a child that, you know, I probably felt like I didn't fit in, or not wanted, or whatever it was, like, and whether that's reality or not, but that was ingrained in me, and literally it's something I've only got to the bottom of in the last year, I'd say, that I realised that feeling is in me, it's not in anyone else, you know. So football, I think that, by the way, that discussion probably goes beyond this interview, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to even, for me, to articulate that, talking about it, you know. So but football, like, I had the drive, I'll show people I'm important, I am wanted, and thank God football never shut the door on me, you know. And I suppose I would not be here, I would not be alive without football. It was my definite outlet as a child. 8, 9, 7 years of age, I would have obsessed about the ball and how it moved, and I would have enjoyed it. You know, like, kids get told to go into a utility room with tennis ball now, they wouldn't know what to do. I used to do it, and it used to probably treat what was wrong with me, you know. So yeah, that's really it.
And supports then, because I know you obviously said that your dad was a very big support for you, but at that kind of time, where there's supports within the game, like, I know we hear nowadays the great work that the PFAI are doing to help support players. There's a campaign called "Don't Turn Out Your Floodlights" at the moment. But back then, where there's the supports, or where they looked for, or what was their kind of?
Yeah, I think personally, again, I wasn't telling people what I was doing. I was hiding a lot of my stuff, and unless I could get honest and ask for help, I wasn't going to be helped. You know, like, people would have probably felt that I didn't want people near me. You know, I had a kind of probably an aura off me is like I didn't trust people. I don't want people to come near me. So people don't, you know, they feel that off you. So I didn't go looking for help. You know, again, there's real obvious stuff after my father died. Age 26 I was just after going back to England, and again I went to counselling just because it was something that, like, was suggested, you know, bereavement counselling, stuff like that. But yeah, I never really looked for the help until I was absolutely bet and ready to get the help, you know.
And do you think that the conversation that's happening around mental health these days is all the more important, knowing what you've kind of gone through, for other people who might be going through the same? Or
yeah, I think so. Like that, I have this thing in me. I don't know what it is. Like, I feel it's my duty nearly, to be honest now, you know. And I don't think it's easy. It's not easy, me sitting here. Like, I've done, Jesus, hundreds of counselling sessions. I've done an awful lot of work to be in a position to sit here and be as honest as I can be. Like, and I still can't go the full whack, like, you know. But yeah, I think, like I openly say as well, I'm not an expert on mental health. I'm absolutely not, but I do have my own experience I can share, and that's all. I wouldn't be going out suggesting this is what you should do if you feel like that, which I see a lot of on Twitter and stuff like that. And we all seem to be experts that we're telling people what to do. Like, for example, like getting honest is scary. I could get honest here, and I could all of a sudden walk out here and me. The head could start and go, why did you say that? You know what I mean? I'm quite comfortable sitting here, so I don't suggest that everybody go out and tell everyone how you feel.
Sure.
Because like that, the head can turn in on you and go, yeah, bleeding idiot, why'd you do that? And then you're in more state. But trust is a big thing with me, like that. As I told you, I didn't trust a lot of people, like all the stuff and all. But I eventually started to trust someone, and I started to open up and tell them what was really going on, like, you know.
And then, like, how did you find a way to kind of, I'm not going to say switch it off, but you know, like, because like your career expanded. You spent quite a while over at Birmingham City, and you know, playing at the top level of football and representing the Republic of Ireland. So what was your sort of switch off? Like, how did you sort of separate that, or was it even separated?
I think like that I could always get bursts of doing well,
Sure,
and then I'd tear it down myself. You know, I think when I look at it, my late teens, 15 to 20, I was okay-ish because I was playing football. I was away. I was away. I wasn't getting the chance to have me blowouts, as I used to call them. But and then again, 20 to 25, I was absolutely off the wall, like, you know. And then 25 to 30, I went away. And luckily, because I wouldn't, either one or the other, I wouldn't be able to keep it going for that long. But I suppose when I went to England the second time, Birmingham, I would have thought, like, money will fix me. Like, you know, and thank God I got a chance to earn a few bob and all that. And I realised it doesn't fix you, but I had the focus, I had a drive, I was playing Premier League like that. And I can say this now, I say I'm very lucky because around the time where I don't cope well, like I don't really cope well. I have coping mechanisms now which I use, but I never did. I'd always turn to something like to change how I felt very quickly. But now, when I went away the second time, my dad got sick and died of cancer, and like that I was playing Premier League. My dad stayed around, thank God, to see my first game in Old Trafford and all, and he died about a week and a half later. Now, I was playing Premier League football. I look back on that and I say, thank God, because I wouldn't have been able to cope with that, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't have been able to go through that stuff without having a focus, an outlet, something to focus on. And I say that as well because it leads me back to when I started playing football. It was an outlet. I loved it, you know, and it's no surprise that it was after a good bit of trauma in my life. You know, I turned to the football. You know, so, yeah, that's where I'm going with that. Very lucky, you know, very lucky.
I'm very sorry to hear about your dad, but like,
yeah,
is that something you're okay talking about? Because if you don't want us to talk about it, just say
no, I'm okay. Like, yeah, go ahead.
But
yeah.
when he did pass away, after going over, getting that second chance in England, was that a big blow? Did you consider coming home again?
Did I consider coming home? No, I didn't. It was a big blow, obviously. Like,
especially with you talk about how well he treated you growing up and kind of letting make your own decisions and getting you to where you are now. Yeah,
look, I think looking back on it, my dad was an ever present in my life until he died, and I didn't have my mother wasn't, you know. So when my dad wasn't there, it was very difficult. It was very even now we could sit in a room, me and my dad, and we could not talk, you know. But there was a sense of ease and comfort. It was relaxing. There was no pressure to talk or anything like that. And when he was gone, I remember looking to call him and all the times after matches, you know, and we sometimes just tick the box of having a chat on the phone, a quick chat. But well, it was difficult. It was very difficult, I'm sure anyone that's been through it and can relate to, you know. But thankfully, I'm still around to tell the story, and I've been lucky enough to have a good brother in my life. And good neighbours, friends who are like my family as well, Mick and Mary Conlon and the girls. So I've been lucky to have people around me who care, you know. Yeah.
And we thank you for being so open, because it isn't an easy thing to discuss at all. But we do want to talk as well about, you know, I mentioned Birmingham City.
Yeah.
That was a big moment, I suppose, for you and your career. You got to play in the Premier League, and it was a catalyst as well to get into the national team. So tell us a little bit about. You know, I suppose first and foremost playing in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think going over, first of all, I remember training at Birmingham. It was brilliant. Players obviously on a different level to the League of Ireland, and I loved the training straight away, and I had a good run towards the end of the season. We got promotion, scored a few goals last day of the season and all that. So I started then the first game. I started half of the games, I think, in the first year in the Premier League, and it was just like that looking back, and I was like, how did that happen? Like, you know, how did that happen? It was great. I say it was great, and then I'm going, you're lying, Keith. I'm going, it wasn't great as well. Like, the pressure that I used to put on myself, you know, like, you couldn't tell me if I had a bad game. You couldn't tell me, because I'd be telling myself a lot worse. Like, you know what I mean? I say it was great. I say Ireland was great, and it all boils down to how I kind of felt internally, and a lot of the time it was pressure, so it wasn't great. I loved training. I loved the release of going out training, scoring goals, setting up goals, and just running around. But yeah, it was just high pressure, always pressure, as you just gather. Like, I sometimes, like, a lot of the time, I'd be very self-conscious, and people would be coming up to you on the street, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, I could say it was great, and it was at a surface level, but it was tough as well, you know. Like, a lot of people, and I talk now openly about ego and stuff like that, and I'll be very careful now, because, like, that ego drove me to where I got to. But I don't like living like that now, you know. Like, I'd nearly say, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway, you know. But it's not like that now. I need peace of mind. I need to feel peace inside. So, yeah, obviously, surface level, it was great. Caps for Ireland, goals for Ireland, and I have pictures, I've caps, I've trophies, all that type of stuff. It's great, like, it is great. But I suffered along the way to get the things, I suppose, you know.
On the Ireland thing itself, I mean, like, you had played sort of underage for Ireland as well.
Yeah.
Getting the call up to... Was that... I was trying to think back. That was just Trapattoni's time, wasn't it? Or were you part of the era before that?
It was just Trapattoni's time. Yeah.
So... there was an awful lot of promise around Trapattoni, given his CV. If you type Giovanni Trapattoni and pull up his Wikipedia and all of the honours that he's won, it almost seemed like at the time that Ireland had struck gold with Trapattoni. And I know there was qualification for the Euros in 2012 that obviously didn't go the way that both either he or players would have wanted.
There was a Carling Nations Cup in that as well.
There was a Carling Nations Cup,
Yeah,
and I don't
much,
know,
yeah.
I don't know where that was born out of. But sort of, what was that time like playing for Ireland under Trapattoni? Because in my mind, as somebody who covered an awful lot of the I suppose the trap days from early to late, in the media, from our perspective, it seemed very much like chaos. Was it, or was that?
Was it
is
chaos? I don't know. It was the normal to me, like chaos. I like a bit of chaos, as I'm sure you've gathered. But no, it didn't seem like chaos to me. Turned up, trained, played games, and that was it. Yeah, I don't know where the chaos comes from. Like,
Would you say it's the language barrier? Would that have stemmed a bit of chaos?
I
As
don't
players,
think
like,
so. No,
or was there? Like, I mean, did
I
you...
don't buy into that. Like,
No.
I was in the squads, and I know, like, this is just my own opinion. I know, like, he was a hero for a while, and then he wasn't all of a sudden, you know. So, I don't know where that comes from. So I just no comment on it, you know.
And so, because like one of the like. I've sat through many, sort of Trapattoni press conferences, and many's a time that afterwards journalists would be packed around each other going, what did you get from that? Or it was just that you'd get Trapattoni on these big tangents, and you'd have Manuela trying to explain what he really means, and it just seemed like it wasn't altogether there. And I think Mark Wilson, I was trying to piece together whether or not it was either before Trapattoni's last game or afterwards. He was asked, do you understand what the manager wants out of you? And the answer was very much, it was towing the company line, of course, at the time to go, yeah, we understand. But there was an awful lot of doubt. There was an awful lot of long pauses and, sort of not really wanting to answer it at the same time. So, but you're saying that in sort of training, and you were kind of getting what he wanted out of you as players.
I think as footballers, you know what your manager wants. Simple as that, isn't it? Like, any time I played, I knew what was asked of me. Yeah. So like that, if Mark didn't understand, maybe he didn't. I did.
you said that you had that kind of understanding with Trapattoni. Do you reckon that's kind of what made you?
You understand football,
Yeah.
like, you know. I don't.
Sure.
It doesn't matter who's like managing you. I don't think like you know football.
Yeah.
Like it's you do it every day. You go out every Saturday or whatever it is, and you train every day. You understand football. Don't let the other team score, and you try and score. It's just
Yeah.
pretty simple.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But did you have a good relationship with him? Because like it's widely said that like you were probably one of his favourite players in that squad.
Yeah.
You seem to be in an awful lot of the squads when he was calling them up.
Yeah, I
and-
was like when I was fit, I was in all the squads. Like, but yeah, I scored 3 goals in 16 games. Generally done okay. Like, so I think I done okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's not that complicated, you know. Yeah.
That's fair enough. And I suppose then as well, so coming back, like we touched on why you came back from Birmingham City to play in the League of Ireland. You went from St Patrick's Athletic to Shamrock Rovers, and I think what was the feeling when you left St Pat's, because there did seem to be an awful lot of you in that club.
Yeah, probably too much of me, you know. It was my 4th time there, and we just won the cup, and I knew that they weren't signing me back, so I went to Rovers like that. There's not many clubs you can go to, you know.
Yeah.
So, and I just went to Rovers, to play football, and that was really it. Yeah, it wasn't. There's no big kind of thing, like, you know. I suppose when I come back from England, I would have hoped that the club would have been in better shape and all. I had these ideas that I'll still be a legend and all that, and I wasn't, like, you know. Things had changed, things had moved on, and there was different people in the club and stuff like that, and yeah, that was really it, you know. I'm very grateful that I got a chance to make up for the 2003 final, like, you know. So I went back, we won the cup, thank God, and off I went, like, you know. So yeah.
Because I still have a vivid memory of sitting in the Jody stand at Dalymount Park and watching, I think, where he was far back as the halfway line, when you hit a
35
thunder
yards,
rocket into the back of the net.
Yeah.
And destroyed the many bows. I mean, it's still. I mean, like when you think of great League of Ireland goals, that one is still the one that they pick out.
Yeah, it was a good goal. I get very uncomfortable compliments, as you can notice, but like that, yeah. It was a good goal, you know. Really good. That's why, like you say, I joked about social media not being around, and I was glad a lot of the time, but as well, I would have scored an awful lot of good goals that weren't caught on camera. You know, every bleeding goal in training's caught on camera now, and it's shared online and stuff. So, yeah.
And then, like, was Shamrock Rovers, at that sort of stage between St Pat's and Shamrock Rovers, was there an idea sort of in your mind that you might have hoped to get back to England, or was it in your mind that actually, do you know what, I think I'll just stick here?
Yeah, no, I think I had given up on it. After I left Birmingham, I went to Sheffield United training for a couple of weeks, and I dislocated my toe, and I ended up coming home, but I was coming home to stay, like, you know, and that was kind of it. I was just going through the motions. I'm a footballer, that's what I'm called, so that's what I do. And like that, I say that as, like, when I left football, then it's very hard to reinvent who you are, like, you know what I mean, because you're called a footballer all your life, and people still go, you're the footballer. I says, no, I'm not, like, you know. So it's still trying to work out who I am, what way I'm going, and where I'm going, like, you know what I mean.
And then when you went to Rovers, like, talk to us a bit about that spell of your career. Like,
yeah, that spell. Yeah, sorry, go on.
Was it like was that a kind of a fresh start as such? Like, you were committed to staying at home. You wanted to, like, properly make another name for yourself at home in the League of Ireland.
Yeah, I think I was 31, 32 years of age. I probably wasn't as quick as what I used to be. And I was just playing football because that's what I'd done all my life, you know. Yeah, and I had no view to what way the next few years were going to pan out. So I was just going through the motions, really, you know. Yeah.
While at Rovers, like, did you consider retiring, or was it just okay, I'm going to give it a good lash and...
Yeah, what happened when I went to Rovers, like, I played a few games, I played okay. I had a couple of, I remember my last game against Pats, I had a holocaust of a game, and I think I nearly just I finished on that. I retired on that, and I just I don't know. It was just the love for it wasn't there. I think I had worked so hard. Like the time I was at Birmingham was about 4.5 years. So much had happened in that time where I didn't get a chance in my own life to catch up. Like so. Yeah, I was just tired. I was tired of the pressure from I put on myself, and I suppose I just retired then. I remember talking to Pat Fenlon when I was retired, and like I think my knee went, and I think I had an operation, and I wasn't able to get back from it, and I probably could have if I pushed it, but like that I was sick of it, and not like that. I say that today. I've done a bit of coaching. I love football as a game, and I had these ideas that you go back in at a certain age, it'll still be a game, but it's not. There's more pressure being put on kids very younger, and yeah, I didn't like it. I don't like it. I'm going along with things I don't agree with. I'm conflicted within myself because I don't believe that to be the way. But yeah, so I don't do that anymore, and I don't watch a whole lot of football.
Yeah, because I was just going to ask, like, if you still keep sort of tabs on, like obviously Shamrock Rovers had their invincible season this year, or whether or not, you still follow, I suppose, the league in general. So just not really? Or
to be honest with you, I don't really. I wait, someone says, oh, did you watch the match last night? And I have to ask who's playing. Like, that's the way it is. And whether it's, I don't know. I've other interests and like that. I think I started out playing football because it was a game. It was fun and all, and I've seen it for what it is, and it's not like that. It's really not. And kids need to know that nearly when they choose that, or when their father chooses that, that's what they want to do. It's not the game that we see. It's cutthroat industry. It's really tough. It's fight or fly. Yeah.
Is that a real, like, I mean,
for me anyway? Sorry,
I know we touched on the whole pushy parent side a while ago, but does that and you spoke about football being an enjoyment and sort of that kind of thing. Is the pushy parents thing a risk of not only burning the kid out, but the kid then, so many Irish kids have gone over and become lost in the system and come back and gone, do you know what, stuff this, I'm not gonna even do this anymore. Is that, do you see that? Is that a warning that you'd kind of, or
what, the parents, the pushy parent syndrome? Look, I don't know. I just know it worked with me, but is everyone like me? No, I had a drive. I was going to make it either way, and I did. I don't know, like, you'd like the parents to trust you, as in you've been there, you've done it, but now they think they know better, and that's fine. Like, you can't, you're trying to change mindsets, and I don't think it's possible like that. There needs to be trust involved, that like you're trusting someone to coach a kid or whatever it is. I think a lot of it should be player-led at up to a certain age, they should come from them. They should like figure out the game themselves, we're telling them where to stand, what way to move, what angle to run at. It's not like, that's not the way football is,
And what does Keith Fahy do these days to keep himself ticking over?
Keith Fahy does plenty to keep him ticking over,
and that's good as well. You need to kind of keep busy, especially these days.
Yeah, I'm in recovery for addictions, like, okay. So I've put a lot of time into that, and I continue to do that because I never knew what was wrong with me as well. I always medicated what was wrong with me, so I'm in recovery for that, which takes up a lot of my time, and it's helping other people, it's helping myself, and then other stuff. I volunteered on Volunteer Ireland to do a bit of work for charities around Tallaght. So what's next? I don't know. I just like that, and talking about trust a lot. I'm trusting that if I do the right thing each day, that something will work out for me, Will it be football? I don't know. I don't think it will. But like that, I've realised I'm doing a bit of career guidance with Shane Barrett, who's helped me out a good bit. So I'm looking to see what's important to Keith. Like I've made a few bob. I want to do something where it has meaning and purpose, that I'm helping other people and I'm helping myself at the same time. So I don't want to work my fingers to the bone. But yeah, look, I'm in a position where I've suffered for a long time in my life. I really have, and I don't need to suffer anymore, which is great. And just doing the simple things each day, like this lockdown, it's simple. Life is simple for me. I don't like the isolation anymore, but I'm not getting caught up in life's clamours, that things that aren't important. You know, like I think we have it all wrong. I figured it out. I figured my own little bit of peace out, that the things that I think I want aren't good for me. You know, so a bit of peace and quiet and peace of mind is helping other people gives me great peace. You know.
And then to finish up, do you reckon like that time away from football is that peace? Like do you think you're enjoying your time away from football, not even watching it? Like, do you reckon, as you say, you're trying to expand into different things? Do you reckon, okay, that football door is closed, but another one's going to open?
Possibly so, you know. I stepped away from football, like that I said earlier. I was conflicted within myself, going along with things I didn't really agree with. As soon as I stepped away, I had a sense of relief. You know, if something feels wrong, it's generally wrong, like, you know. So that didn't feel right to me, what I was doing. And what's in store for me, God knows. I don't know. Like, the plan is laid out. I'm just a passenger here, and I try not to take too much control, because like that, when I take control, I usually get myself into trouble. So doing the simple things, helping other people each day, and practicing a bit of mindfulness, and I do a lot of prayer and stuff, you know. So
I suppose it's been your whole life, so it's probably like you're probably glad to kind of say, okay, right, breathe and just relax. Like, it's been your whole life. It's been my whole life. I've said earlier, I fought to get to where I was, and it took a lot out of me, you know, that kind of ego-driven stuff, and I fought, and I don't want to fight anymore, you know. I don't have to fight people. I don't have to prove to anyone, you know, that I've done it. I've done that, and it's like, I've done that. That's all the material stuff, surface level, great achievements, but inside is where it's at for me, you know. So I found what works for me to give me internal peace, you know, and that's really important.
Well, long may that continue. Yeah. And look, Keith, we want to thank you very much for coming in and being as open, because like I know, like I went through the absolute ringer myself, and can resonate in an awful lot of what you're saying to me. Like, we've spoken on previous podcasts as well. You know, we all kind of have our struggles. Absolutely, and we thank you. We know how difficult it is to kind of talk about it too. So thank you for being so open with it. Thank you for coming in, and please God that everything now going forward is as smooth sailing as you're as you're describing it.
Can I just say, just before we finish up, like that, I'm not fixed. Do you know what I mean? Sure. You can come in and say, look, everything's grand now, I still suffer, but I know what I need to do, you know, to get myself out of little scraps. But like that, earlier on you talked about Chaptoni, I shut you down. Do you know what I mean? I get uncomfortable when I'm asked, you know, and I apologise, because that's some things I feel more comfortable talking about, like mental health, feelings, all that type of stuff, rather than football. It doesn't really matter to me, like, you know what I mean? And I apologise if I shut you down.
No, not at all, not at all. Yeah. And look, it is important to have those open discussions, as difficult as sometimes details and stuff might be. But thank you very much for coming into us.
It's a pleasure.
And sharing your story. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Appreciate that, guys.
Yeah, so there you go, Keith Fahy speaking to us there, and we'd like to thank Keith for taking the time out to come in and being so open and honest. Like, it was an amazing chat. Yeah. I think when we realised that we were going to be interviewing Keith, we had an awful lot of football discussion planned and hoped to get his thoughts on. Now, we got a great chat there about his youth career and whatever, but I think it was like, It just took off really around the mental health issues, and you were gripped on his every word. Oh yeah, incensed. Like, it was a fantastic story to tell.
Yeah,
like, that man has a serious, like, credit him. Like, I'll say it again. Thank you, Keith, very much for coming in and speaking to us and being so honest. It was such a fantastic conversation.
You sometimes don't get that honesty. Like, you're. Sports people from various different codes have come out over the last number of years, and they've opened up about their story, and it has been beneficial to those who might be going through a similar time. We've spoken on the podcast about our previous struggles. Keith, I don't think I expected, like, we knew that there was struggles there. We knew that there were demons in his past. I don't think we were quite expecting the length of time to talk about it. It was brilliant that he did open up to us with that amount of honesty. And yeah, again, to thank him for that, because to come in to a room, to see two people that you've never met before, that you've only started talking to in the last week in terms of trying to organise an interview, and to be so willing to open up on a live microphone about struggles in the way that he did, it's a strength of character. It's, you know, it really is. It shows his character. It shows, thankfully, as he spoke about towards the end, in terms of what he's doing to kind of keep himself occupied. He was saying that he found religion, which is great if that's what somebody finds to sort of get themselves over struggles. That's great. What's important as well, that he mentioned that sometimes he can talk about something and a while later kind of go back on it and kind of beat himself up for it. Or, you know, like he spoke about, he wanted his experience to be what people learn from. Like he said, people ask, what would you tell somebody? It's like, well, I can't really tell anybody anything. Just, this is me. Which is great. Like
it just shows, like, you've seen him at the heights of his career, but it just shows you don't really know what's going on deep down in a person. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's fantastic to learn.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, these are athletes at the top of their game, but yes, they're just like, they're just like me and you, or anyone else that goes through any of these struggles. Yeah. They're human at the end of the day. Like, you know, it's like something that some people forget sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And you would think, you would look at somebody like Keith, who had a career, a professional football career in England, played for his boyhood club during his youth career, had varying levels of success in the League of Ireland here. He won an FAI Cup. You know, like, you think that, you know, footballers, they earn lots of money, you know, all of the things that come around that, but you don't often think of the other side of a professional sports person. What might that person be doing when, you know, they leave a training ground, or, you know, they go home after a match? You know, you hear of players, and we heard it with Peter Eccles only last week, that he still beats himself up over a very bad performance. It's incredible.
Yeah, like it's actually, like, it's a fantastic insight into people. Like, really, you're like.
And we'd love to know what you, the listeners, made of that. And if you wouldn't mind, like, we'd love to know your thoughts. You can get us on Twitter at FTFpod, IRE, or email ftfpod@gmail.com, because we would love to know what you thought of that. Yeah. I found it very insightful. I found it very inspiring.
Yeah, like, at the end of, like, I know we're a football podcast, but, like, for that period of time we were talking to Keith, like, okay, he's a football player, but I didn't really want to hear, because his story was so interesting. It was
so honest.
It was so honest. I didn't particularly want to hear about football. Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind that.
We had as I said, we had our kind of in our minds how we would have mapped it out at the start, but then it took a veer, and we're kind of going, oh, here's something.
Yeah. Like, it's fantastic, you know what I mean?
It's amazing. And again, look, you know, maybe someday, and we would, when the mics went off here, you know, we spoke to Keith about maybe getting in and doing, you know, an interview more around football, and he was open to that, to do it at some point, and, you know, we'd love to have him on again.
Yeah, great guest.
No doubt about that. And as you said, we want to sincerely thank Keith, because, as I said, two lads that you've probably never heard of before, and opening up in the way he did, was truly remarkable. A very, very inspiring chat. You know, as somebody who still goes through the ringer myself with, you know, sort of mental health difficulties, to learn maybe how other people sort of get over it, I find inspiring.
Yeah, and that's another thing Keith said. you never really get over it. You know what I mean? It still kind of hangs around.
It lingers.
Which is
it hits you at different times.
It's honesty. Like it's very true. Like you know. But anyway,
so thank you very much indeed
thanks
to
very
Keith.
much to Keith, and hope we get him on in the future again.
And that is where we end this week's podcast, episode 8, as we said, coming to you from the podcast studios here in Dublin City Centre. And again, we'd like to thank the guys for having us here, and hopefully we can have use of this phenomenal facility in the weeks and months ahead going forward. You can don't forget, you can get in contact with us, as I mentioned there, at FTFPodIRE on Twitter, or email ftfpod@gmail.com. And please don't forget to head across to wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's Acast, Spotify, or YouTube. Head over to there, type in Following the Floodlights into your search bar, and subscribe for more great content, and listen back to our previous episodes, and very positive feedback that we've got from Peter Eccles' interview last week, which was quite something.
Yeah, and on that note, on the YouTube, like you can, like, it's not just our full podcast. You can get different clips of our different guests. Like if you listen to the whole podcast and there's a particular topic you liked, you can listen back to that particular topic on our YouTube. So you can, and there's plenty more to find on YouTube as well. There's different match day features as well from different games we've been covering. So keep a look on the YouTube. There's plenty of stuff going up there anyway.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, that is where we end this week's episode. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in. And from myself, Daniel Pitcher.
And me, Conor Hossford.
We'll see you next time.